Mr. President, today I rise to support the Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act, and I want to commend the numerous senators, Senator Cornyn, Klobuchar, so many others who have worked so hard to move this act forward. Now, I realize that there are many of us who are new to this body, and I certainly am still learning my way around the procedural maze here. However, it is easy to see how frustrating this maze can be and how it keeps us from getting good things done for the people who elected us and sent us here. Last year, I traveled my state, Alaska, and one of the top concerns I heard from Alaskans is that they were tired of the gridlock, and they want to see a functioning government and an open process in the United States Senate. So here we are on a bill that is of immense importance to the country and to Alaska, a bill that has very broad bipartisan support, and it comes to the floor with the promise of an open amendment process so all senators can be heard. And yet, a few of my friends on the other side of the aisle are preventing us from moving forward on a bill that will protect some of the nation's most vulnerable citizens. Evidently, a provision in the bill that has been the law of the land for decades has now become an excuse among some not to move the bill forward. Mr. President, that's a shame for the country, and particularly for the victims who have been snared in the heinous world of human trafficking. As a former Attorney General of the great state of Alaska, I have seen the horrible pain and suffering that human trafficking and cases of domestic violence and sexual assault can cause among our fellow citizens. Now, I hail from a great state. We are proud, Alaskans, proud of many things that are wonderful about our state. But like most states, we have problems. We have some of the highest rates of sexual abuse and exploitation in the country. And human trafficking is a big problem in my state, just as it is throughout the rest of the country. Since the human trafficking bill was placed on the calendar, I've been working closely with all of my colleagues, not only on this bill, but on an amendment that I plan on introducing with many others, the Mann Act Cooperation Amendment. This is an amendment that would be a rare thing in Washington today, a truly win-win amendment for the federal government, state governments, and most importantly, victims of human trafficking. Now, human trafficking is a problem that unfortunately comes in many forms and in many states, all states, in fact, in all corners of our nation. And in order to best combat human trafficking, we must work towards a seamless federal and state partnership in order to stop this growing problem. To that end, I've been proud to have worked with many senators on both sides of the aisle, Senators Heitkamp, Gillibrand, Ayotte, Murkowski, on a simple yet straightforward amendment which incentivizes state and federal cooperation on this important issue. The Mann Act Cooperation Amendment will free up federal resources by allowing state attorneys general and local DAs to prosecute human trafficking cases that would otherwise be assigned to federal government prosecutors, or if federal government prosecutors do not have the resources to take on such cases, oftentimes they're not going to be pursued. At the same time, this amendment preserves the federal prosecutor's ability to exercise prosecutorial options while importantly increasing transparency about decisions made on human trafficking cases. Mr. President, in human trafficking cases, it's often local investigators and local prosecutors who have the most information on these cases. As Alaska's Attorney General, I saw this firsthand. We usually had great cooperation with our partners in the federal government. But when the feds can't take on human trafficking cases due to limited resources, they should be encouraged to allow state officials to take on such cases. And that's the key goal of this amendment, to enable the resources and cooperation between state and federal prosecutors to ensure that all cases of human trafficking are pursued and victims have justice and perpetrators pay penalties. And that's what this amendment will do. And that's why I believe it's such a win-win approach to state and federal prosecutions with regard to human trafficking. This amendment also provides oversight and transparency by assuring that there must also be communication between the states and federal governments when making human trafficking prosecution decisions. However, Mr. President, if the broader human trafficking bill that so many members of this body have been working on, so many on both sides of the aisle, if that bill dies here on the Senate floor, so will the numerous amendments that will also advance justice for the victims of human trafficking, including the Mann Act Cooperation Amendment. This is just one of many amendments on this important topic. We should not allow this to happen. We need to get to work for the victims of human trafficking who are looking for the Senate's leadership to help stamp out this scourge of human trafficking, which is affecting our country in so many different areas. I yield the floor.